Hello and welcome to Happiness, the Sceptics Guide with me, Paul Flower, and Dr. Gary Wood, where we attempt to give you research-based happiness advice.
Very good, and this time it's the review bonus episode in which we're looking at what sticks, apart from the sheets. Right.
Oh, no.
No, we're
Happy
looking
endings, and now this.
happy endings. Yes, it's all innuendo. Even innuendo sounds like a dirty word to me. Off we go.
Does.
Right then. So, in this episode, what we do is we look back over the past few episodes, and we've got 4 to look back on, and they've all got a theme of storytelling. So, we did one on telling better happiness stories. We did the ones on goals and resolutions. We've had trust, truth, and happiness. And then we've had another one on happy endings with bucket lists and future desired selves.
Yeah, so essentially they're all story-based, and it's about the story that A, you want to be living, and B, that you want to look back on in some respects. So you started and ended that sort of run of 4 without necessarily maybe having planned it that way. I don't know. But, the stories that we could be talking about and living our lives by, and the stories that we want, the achievements and stories that we want to look back on at the end of our lives, so to speak.
I did plan it that way. I wanted a lovely double...
He said.
A lovely double album like Yes's Tales from Topographic Oceans.
No, not that again.
4 sides of gloriousness.
Bloody obsessed with that, you are.
So, yes. So, no, it wasn't planned. No, I think, it was planned in a way, but it became obvious as we did the first 2, the links with truth and trust and what we put in. And the most recent episode, the one on future desired selves, that's the one that where we can, try little techniques to get us to think about it. So it's sometimes the stuff we cover is not always easily applicable, and hopefully this was a little bit. So I'm wondering, rather than go through all 4, what were the highlights? What was sticking for you? What stood out for you? Sounds like innuendo again.
I think, although I was very sceptical about it, I kind of eventually came round to your way of thinking on the whole bucket list approach, but only when I started to think about in the respect of the stories that we live and the stories that we tell ourselves and live by. And the Truth and Trust episode, without a shadow of a doubt, was always going to be a peak for me. In the respect that my favourite chapter of the book, The Psychology of Wellbeing, is that particular chapter. And I think it's one that has great resonance with us as we live through this time of culture wars and people picking sides or being forced to pick sides. That was always going to be one that had the greatest resonance because it definitely stuck the bits in the book. You were right in thinking that the stories are a good way to go and a good way to think about our lives.
Okay. And how can you see that you might apply that? Can you imagine sitting yourself down one rainy afternoon and just writing out a bit of stuff just to kind of frame things?
It'd be nice to have the time, for sure. I don't see myself doing that at this present moment in time for the same reason that I'm anti New Year's resolution in the sense that it requires too much forward thinking, which is not a skill that I'm very. It appears when applying to my own life, I'm very good at. I can do it for clients and I can do it for projects, but I don't seem to be able to make myself that project, which I think I will get better at. And I think, even talking about mindfulness, I've become aware recently that I can be more mindful. And that was a result of an episode 5 or 6 back where we talk more about what mindfulness actually is rather than what the theory of what people think that it is. And that's an important point to make, I think, for me. We've always tried to be evidence-based. We have always tried to be research-based and be able to refer back to that research. And I feel that the drip effect is certainly getting through to me. And, I can now find myself in certain times thinking, oh, yeah, that's what he meant by this. And
okay.
So you should think of yourself as a form of torture.
Or better in small doses.
Definitely.
It's reminded me of in workshops when we talk and people say, I've tried this stuff and my mind keeps wandering. And I go, well, yeah, that's mindfulness then. And I go, no, my mind keeps wandering. I go, yes, but you've become aware that it's wandering, so that's mindfulness. And I go, oh. So it's the idea that if you weren't aware of it, that's the issue, but you've started to become aware for it, that's the start of mindfulness. And when I've said that to people, it's almost like a little light bulb's gone off and say, oh, so you haven't got to stop your mind wandering forever. You've just got to become aware of it and have the ability to bring it back. As simple as that. And that seems a lot more doable for people rather than thinking, oh, I'm sitting here daydreaming, oh, I'm fantasizing, oh, I'm going to do it for another hour. Rather than, in fact, I'll do something more productive. So what do you imagine is going to be useful? Or what would we need to talk about in the next few episodes for you to feel like this has been worthwhile and the happiness narrative / journey is moving forward in a positive way for you?
I think there's more that we can do on gratitude and hope, hopefulness, rather than hopelessness.
Yep.
I've seen stuff about that, and I think there's more that we can do in those areas that we have and areas that we haven't covered at the minute. So those would be useful. I still probably struggle with the making it stick, but I think that the stories idea, being a fairly voracious reader, is going to benefit me and probably benefit others who are like me.
Because I know you blog and you've evolved in journalism, and you think about that process, you will probably have a whole lot of information, and then you'll have to get it down to a word limit. So sometimes it may be thinking about that, is that there's a whole lot of stuff out there. If I'm writing a piece and it's about happiness, what do I need to leave out? What do I need to put in? That might be another way to think about it.
Yeah, I think it is. If I was creating a 500-word piece that starts with a premise and then tries, over the next 400 words to prove that and come round in a cyclical way, because that's the way most of my stuff is written, then you want a beginning and end that makes sense, really. So yeah. That's where I am.
So that's what we're talking about is the path that's meaningful. It's the, sitting back and looking back on your past, that becomes meaningful. There are these peak experiences that have given meaning to life. So, you're probably aware that we had some listeners' suggestions, which is always nice. And we've had suggested to us happiness and love and happiness and relationships.
And it's very timely because it would lead very nicely to be around Valentine's Day. So,
would it?
What a good suggestion that was, whoever it was.
Almost as if we all planned it together. And also I've got some feedback from some constructive criticism from a listener.
Okay.
Who said that while they appreciate the humour, they felt that I went too far in the Christmas episode and need to rein it in.
Too much stuffing.
Well, with my rendition of Susie sitting in the shoe shine shop, who sits and shines and sits. And they said...
I've been trying to forget that.
They felt that restraint was needed.
Yeah, they were right.
Well, I replied...
Yeah, with words of more than 4 letters, I hope.
No, I said, thank you for taking the time to get in touch and offer feedback. And I can assure you that restraint was taken. It was a key consideration in that podcast. Otherwise, I would have continued with the second verse of Tommy toiling in the tailor's shop.
Oh, no.
Who fits and tucks and fits. And of course, that is a pure fiction. And so, but do get in touch with suggestions. We will take them on board and we'll weave them into the narrative and any other feedback.
And in future episodes, we will put Dr. Gary Wood in restraints, which is where he prefers to be.
No, we won't at all. That's been edited out. So do you want to say that again? Right then. I think that...
We hope you've enjoyed this bonus episode, restraints or otherwise, and will continue to join us on our journey of happiness with evidence-based and research-based...
That's easy for you to say.
...theories, or it would be if I'd said it properly.
Oh, it would have helped if I'd have switched the recorder on.
No, haven't you not switched?
Yes, that was just a no. Oh, yeah. Of course I have. I'm a professional.
He said. Thanks for listening to our bonus review episode of our podcast, Happiness: The Sceptic's Guide. It always helps to review your progress, and we'd be very grateful if you'd review our progress wherever you listen to this podcast. Do subscribe and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or join us on Facebook. We're always around. Thank you.